Hello, happy morning, STEP community. Juan Alvarado here. Welcome to a new edition of Let's Talk Sports. Big events going on this week. The main one, of course, NCAA men's basketball tournament. The March Madness tournament is back, and we're excited here to talk about it. This week, we have a special guest. With me is no other than Jonathan Fernandez. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to Let's Talk Sports by Step Univision. Jonathan, how are you today?
Hey Juan, it's great to be here. Like you said, my name is Jonathan Fernandez. I'm a current student at Northwestern University, specializing in sports media. So it's great to be here and it's great to talk NCAA men's basketball.
It's always good to talk about sports we like, sports we love, especially when it comes to a tournament as big as the NCAA men's basketball tournament. A lot of surprises so far, and we have a lot of big games to look forward to. But Jonathan,
Yeah.
tell me something in your experience, studying media, studying sports. Why is the March Madness tournament so important, not only for the American fan, but for the world?
I think it's important just because it brings in so many casual viewers. Like normally it's a lot of hardcore sports fan, but NCAA March Madness is a unique opportunity because it brings together the hardcore sports fan as well as the casual sports fan who maybe just went to some of these universities or has a connection to this university through someone they know, and they can really follow these games. And it's one of the unique playoff systems as well because there aren't a ton of playoff systems where it's like one game then you're out, and that creates an environment where there's so many upsets every night. Like you never know what's going to happen.
You do never know what is gonna happen. And talking about March Madness so far, like we talked before going live here, it's the unpredictability of this type of tournament with that system, with that format that you have, the
Mhm.
knockout stage they basically have from like round of what 64 to 32 to a Sweet 16, and Sweet 16 is coming up, but so far what would you say it's so attractive of having a tournament that you never know what's going to happen?
It just creates these moments like that you don't expect. For example, we were talking about it earlier. St. Peter's knocking off Kentucky in the first round. They were, I think, like the third 15th seed to make it to the Sweet 16 now. And for them to knock off the number two seed, that's something you don't see very often, especially in professional sports, because in professional sports, it's typically a series to 7 games. Whoever wins the best of 7 or best of 5. And in college sports, in the NCAA men's basketball tournament, it's just whoever can get hot on any given night. And that's what makes it so exciting. And that's what makes it so unpredictable as well.
And let me ask you this, Jonathan. Have you filled up your own personal NCAA bracket, and is it still alive?
I wouldn't say alive. It's definitely not perfect. I think there are 0 brackets left so far. But yeah, I made a bracket with a group at Northwestern, so we have our own little group, and I think I'm tied for fifth right now. There's like 4 people tied for first, and I'm in fifth, so I'm feeling pretty good about where my bracket's at right now.
Tell me about the bracket system and these games that go on. I remember, and I know, like there's this Warren Buffett thing about the perfect bracket that has never happened. No one has ever
Yeah.
won. But what is so attractive for like fans, young fans like us, to be filling this up every March when this tournament comes around?
Well, I think what's great about it is, like I said earlier, you don't have to be a hardcore college basketball fan because even the hardcore college basketball fan isn't going to get it 100% right, you know? So for someone who hasn't been following along, they can fill out a bracket and do better than the person who's been following along all season. I think that's part of the beauty of it because everyone can participate, everyone can feel like they sort of know what's going on just because of the madness that's ensuing.
And one of the like last year's bracket, it had in the end in like the real tournament in the real deal, they have Baylor as the big winner. Can you talk a little about Baylor's run last season? That it's basically not going to happen this season after they lost to UNC. But what did Baylor do that other teams this season, that the ones that are still alive in the tournament, can emulate to try to win their own national tournament?
Well, there are a few teams that are in like a similar position because when you look at them, they were led by their freshman Davion Mitchell, who rose up the draft boards by having a really successful NCAA tournament. And I think there are a few teams here who are hoping their guys can help lead them to the championship. Their top like NBA guy, potential NBA guy, can lead them to the championship and have them like rise up the draft board as well. And I think that's something that we can see with Gonzaga, you can see with Arizona, you can see with Auburn. They have these top draft prospects, and they're hoping to do the same thing that Baylor did. But Baylor had a historic season. They finished 28-2 overall, like throughout their whole regular season. They went 13-1 in the Big 12, and they made it all the way to the final. And they were led by Davion Mitchell.
And talking about the teams that are still on this season with the NCAA tournament, we mentioned earlier the games coming up in the Sweet 16 are looking very interesting. We have, we have Gonzaga, Arkansas, UNC, UCLA, and Providence and Kansas. Also, St. Peter's still alive, and Michigan is also going to be in the Sweet 16. What's your initial take on those matchups that I mentioned and the Sweet 16 round as a whole here in the tournament?
No, yeah, it's going to be exciting. Like we talked about earlier too, for St. Peter's to be there is just, I mean, it's really cool. It's what we talked about the tournament being super unpredictable. With Gonzaga, they're one of the favorites to win the whole thing. They have a prospect whose name is Chet Holmgren, who's projected to go 1 or 2 in the draft. They have a returning player who's key to their run last year, because last year they also made it to the Final Four. And so his name is Drew Timme, and he's going to be there as well. So those two teams are going to have like a huge say. Duke also has 2 players. They haven't made it to the Sweet 16 yet, but they have 2 NBA prospects. So they're going to be a force to reckon with too.
So I like how you're mentioning NBA prospects. Do you think one of the main attractives of this tournament is seeing who are going to be the stars of professional basketball in the future?
Yeah, without a doubt. I think for NBA fans, this is the main opportunity you're going to have to see these guys before they go pro. And if you're a big NBA fan, this is your chance to like make your own analysis on them. Like you've probably read up on them already, but getting to see them yourself is where you're going to be able to decide whether you think they'll actually make it or what you like, basically formalize your thoughts on them.
And tell me something, Jonathan, to close up the stream. Everyone, you said your bracket, it's not perfect, but it's doing pretty well. Who do you have playing the national championship this season?
So I actually have UCLA and Villanova facing each other for the NCAA championship this year.
How come you picked them?
Well, UCLA, I liked them because last year they actually made a really deep run, and then coming into this season, they brought a lot of returning players back. So their whole roster is basically the same. They're just that they have another year of experience under their belt, and I feel pretty confident in them. Villanova, they were just as good last year. They're the ones that knocked off UCLA when they were having a really great run. I believe they're a 2 seed this year, so I feel like they're going to make a strong run and they're going to meet UCLA in the final.
I think it'd be interesting to see UCLA, such a historic program with all these championships under their belts. But only time can tell what's going to happen with the NCAA tournament and how the games play out. Jonathan, thank you so much for joining me for your analysis in the tournament and the game. Thank you for your prediction. And guys, remember to always follow at Step Univision, both on Twitter and Instagram, to keep up with the latest updates, not only in sports, but in news in general. For Jonathan Fernandez, my name is Juan Alvarado. Everyone, please have a pleasant day.